Have we met?
Welcome back to Hello Earth. We are approaching our 10th. Wait, no, this is the 9th episode. Approaching the 10th. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm in shambles today, apparently. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Another guest has joined us. Entering the chat is Jerrod, good friend, and currently a new bandmate for a project that we're working on. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Oh, not a problem, man.
It's we really need new perspectives because ours are kind of, limited, I guess. But we do the best we can. But I guess just for our viewers, our tens of viewers watching at home, just, I guess, let them know a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What's your deal?
Well, I kind of grew up with Ryan and went to high school together. And then after high school, I joined the military and was gone for a while. And then I moved back about 5 years ago. So now I'm back ready to party, play some music.
Ready to party?
Hell yeah, brother.
How long have you been playing music?
I started in middle school.
Middle school, so a long time, yeah. I mean, that's pretty evident just with what little bit I've been around you with practice and stuff so far. You have a wide range of skills, it seems like. I've seen you play the sax. I've seen you play harmonica. I've seen you play guitar. I've heard you sing. And I feel like there's levels to the shit. And like, as far as like chefs and stuff go, there's like the Michelin star chefs and the Gordon Ramsays of the world, and then there's like the people that burn my burgers at Applebee's and stuff. And like, I'm closer to the Applebee's chef, and it seems like you're kind of up there somewhere else.
The 5-star Michelin.
And I guess like, what motivated you to get into music? Because like, of course, we all have everybody in the room right now is a musician of some sort, but like you seem to have a much bigger passion for it. So like, I'm just interested, what got you into it? Like, what's your origin story with playing music?
I can explain that to you. So in middle school, started playing guitar and saxophone around the same time. In high school, anytime you would see me in school, you would always see me carrying a guitar.
Oh, one of those kids.
Yeah, that's the only way you can get better. Always constantly play and improve. But when I got in high school, our football coach decided that if you took weight training, or if you were on a sports team, you had to take weight training.
Okay.
Weight training and band were the same period. So I ended up getting dropped out of band to take weight training, and I couldn't take band the rest of my high school years.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, junior year in high school. Well, once I got out of the military, I decided to go to college, and the only thing I knew how to do was play music. So I went to college for music and had to pretty much start all over again.
Was that all right?
Once I started, I told them I wanted to be a music teacher. So once I started learning to teach music, I taught myself all these other instruments just because why not? So I'm not a professional on a lot of instruments. I'm a intermediate,
Right,
probably
sure.
on a lot of instruments, but
I've heard you play the saxophone, and it's pretty damn good.
It's-
And on the harmonica.
well, harmonica I've always played, but I really got into it like 2 years ago. So
Gotcha, Mom. And
what you're hearing is 2 years of playing every day.
right. Yeah, I mean, that's still wildly impressive. I mean, I guess 2 years you would be building up some repertoire with it, but yeah, I mean, I've been playing just bass and guitar for, I don't know, 15 years or more now, and like I'm not as good at that as what I think you are with 2 years of harmonica.
I think nowadays is so much easier than we were kids. The only way we could learn stuff when we were younger was buying a guitar magazine or something at a store. Now you have all sorts of online stuff that you can access. So it's easy, especially if you already know how to play an instrument.
Yeah,
You can just go online and look up music and learn how to play a new instrument
right.
pretty easily.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you gotta have that. You gotta have the musical skill.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I used to give guitar lessons, and usually, like, I don't know, I would say 90% of the time, the kids will thrive, and they'll do way, but there's this like small percentage where they don't quite, it's just not in their genes to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll usually get with the parents, and it's a hard conversation because like it's at some point where you say, you're wasting your money, but
Yeah.
also like it's just, I don't want to waste their time and
But they're wasting their money on you.
Yeah, but that's still in good conscience. Like, I don't want them to spin their wheels and move to something because they might not be good at music, but they would be like amazing in engineering or something else. It's just everybody has their special abilities, but I really do think that music talent is in your genes. I mean, it some people got it and some people just don't. And some people are better and some people are, average.
So that's what I did for, let's see here. So I got my sister her first guitar when she was 10. I'm 7.5 years older. So I was 17. So I started teaching her guitar then. And from then on, I've been teaching music pretty much constantly up until about last year, December. I was teaching at Music and Arts in Hickory. And I guess after 20 years, I just got burnt out.
Right.
And I had to take a break.
Is that like part of the Hickory Music Factory and all that?
I'm not really sure.
Microcosm up there.
It's where the music center used to be. Now it's called Music and Arts.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love teaching there, but teaching or working in a factory 10 hours to 12 hours a day and then getting off and then going teaching for like another 2 to 4 hours. And you can't always say, hey, I'm going to have 2 hours lessons here. Sometimes you might have a student here, then have to wait 2 hours for another student.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be getting home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I was just wore out and it was wearing me out. So I had to take a break.
Right.
It's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like around here anyway, the people that I know that have been to like music lessons really of any kind, like there seems to be a very low success rate, like kind of like what Conrad was talking about. There's a lot of kids that like maybe think they want to play guitar or whatever instrument it is, but like once it starts really happening, either they lose interest or it just doesn't click and stuff like that. So, as far as your students go, like, did you see the same thing that he was talking about for the most part, or do you think that they were really like thriving for the most part?
I saw some that were like that, where it felt like their parents were just making them do it and they didn't want to be there.
Right.
And then I felt like there was some students that wanted to be there, but there was other stuff going on to where they couldn't focus and give the music the attention it deserved.
Right.
Right now I have a couple people that are interested in lessons, but they're like, oh, we got sports going on. So
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like that was kind of my problem with everything. Cause I mean, I've been playing guitar and bass for a long time and I've never actually learned like the theory side of anything. Like, and I mean, I'm sure I probably could if I really focused on it, but just my brain just goes numb when I'm looking at like sheet music and stuff like that. It's just like a fuzz starts playing in the back of my brain, and I don't know, it's admirable like seeing people like you that
I didn't learn theory until I went to community college in Colorado in my 30s. So
wow, Colorado. How long were you living out there?
I got stationed in the military out there. I was out there. So I was in the military 8.5 years. Out of the 8.5 years I was in the military, I was in Colorado from 2005 to 2012 when I got out. But also I was in Iraq 3 times. So
holy shit.
Yeah. So a lot of my time was overseas.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, what was your experience with that like? I mean, I don't know how much you can talk about.
Well, experience was like being in Colorado or being in the military.
Military in general.
Military, my first 4 years I liked it, and then after I came back from my second deployment, we got all new leadership. So I had to rebuild all those new connections, and it just didn't work out.
So what years were you over in Iraq? Like during the heat of all the shit, for pretty much? Wow. Sure. Yeah, that's absolutely wild.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that you see on TV and movies, I was over there for it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, coming from, being being one of the kids that carries the guitar around at school and stuff, like, how did you make that transition into the military? What got you involved?
I always wanted to join the military. Top Gun was one of my favorite movies growing up.
Sure.
Yeah. So I always wanted to fly planes. And then we had a recruiter that came to the high school. And was like, hey, we got planes in the Army. I can fly drones. It's like, okay. So that's what I did. I flew drones in the Army.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. And I guess I don't want to generalize too much, but, I know that you're obviously on the podcast because you were talking about being interested in conspiracies and stuff like that. Sure. And just like with people in the military, like what is that a lot of people that are in the military, do you think? Or is it, I guess like my question being like, I can't imagine people that are doing important shit, like, have a lot of time to be on Google and, like, learning about all this and that and whatnot. So, like, I don't know, just, I guess, yeah, I mean, is that a pretty common thing to have a bunch of conspiracy theorists and stuff involved with the military?
I've heard a lot of conspiracies being in the military, but most of the time I was in the military, you were not allowed to have your phone.
Right.
Like overseas, we were allowed to go to like internet cafes. So there was firewalls, so there wasn't a lot of stuff you could look up. You could type in a certain website and it pop up, and so you're not allowed to see it, stuff like that.
Right.
So there's not a lot of stuff that you can do over there, but I'm sure people experience stuff.
Right.
I hadn't heard of it firsthand, just through other people.
Right. Yeah. So I guess, with having a guest on, I thought it would be interesting to kind of go through a bit of a conspiracy roulette of sorts and kind of just blow through a few different topics, get your vibe on them. Maybe we can like rank, 1 through 10, 1 being like, get out of here with that shit. 5 being maybe like, I don't really know a whole lot about that. And 10, like, the aliens are here. But let me pull up my list real quick. And so I guess the one that we were talking about earlier, it's up on our screen from last time, but Bigfoot. What are your thoughts on the whole Bigfoot and like generally the cryptid side of things?
So in elementary school, when we got to go to the library, that's the only books that I would get were cryptid books. So I've seen a lot of pictures and stuff, but I've never seen definitive evidence. It's always intrigued me since I was a kid. So it's stuff that I'm into, but I haven't 100% seen anything that proves that it's real, but it's always fascinating stories.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like, it's definitely something I consider very possible, but it's just the videos that you do see online. I mean, there's no way to put your whole trust in them or anything. So, I mean, it's very hard to be convinced, but also I think people disregard it a little too heavily because, I mean, we've talked about it before, but there's a lot of forest out there and there's a lot of shit that we haven't seen, like even within this country. I mean, we were doing an episode not too long ago where, we brought up some stories from like the 40s and 50s where these planes were crashing in the forest and they wouldn't find them for 30, 40 years or something like that. So, I mean, that's kind of where I stand on it. Just like, who knows what's out there. And I mean, I guess like I'm a fan of, fantasy stuff, like high fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing. So it's easy for me to like see these, not magical creatures, but, these beings of sorts and really buy into it. And I wonder if it's just like, do I want this to be real a little too much or, what, I don't know. But as far as other cryptids and stuff, we've talked about things like skinwalkers and let's see, was there anything else? I mean, I guess you can't. Kelso's shaking his head because
all sorts of cryptids.
Yeah, I mean, what do you know about them? What should we be looking into?
So some of my favorite ones that I read about when I was a kid was probably like Nessie, Loch Ness, all that stuff.
Oh,
that
sure.
always intrigued me.
Yeah.
But then you've got stuff that they consider cryptids that were actual animals that just went extinct, like the thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they say it was a cryptid, but it's actually proven to exist. They actually had them in zoos. The last one was alive, died in, I think, Australia in the 50s, maybe.
Sure.
All sorts of stuff out there. I mean, I think Ryan was talking earlier, like they find new fish every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think how big the earth is that we haven't explored yet.
Right. I mean, I remember back in high school and stuff, I remember like Madagascar was a big topic in school, at least, because there was all these species that were being discovered down there all the time. So, I mean, it's a big world out there. And I don't know what, as far as like Loch Ness Monster, the Loch Ness Monster and all that, I don't know, like, where did that even come from? Because I've seen like people up in like the Great Lake area saying that it's up there, and then I've seen people like over in Europe saying it's over there.
So there's many different ones. The Loch Ness is based out of Scotland, I believe.
Yeah.
And the ones that you're talking about up there, they have different names for them. They have like Ogopogo, which is, I think, in a lake in Canada. It's considered the same as kind of like Loch Ness. It's the same type of monster. Lake Champlain monster they have. I mean,
sure,
they're spotted in all different lakes, I guess. So, I mean, you got to think it's not just one area.
Well, haven't we found those like giant squids that are like
For sure.
nearly as big as like a sperm whale? I mean, it's totally plausible that
I saw one the other day.
it just kind of carries a legacy of it's like how Bigfoot continues to carry on, because we know that we found like these unknown things in the ocean. They're massive. And it's not a crazy thought to say Bigfoot could exist. Have I seen it before? No. Do I think it exists? I don't know. But I mean, could it? Possibly. So that, I mean, with that, I think that's what keeps the Bigfoot thing alive, is just the fact that in the water, it's kind of the same thing with Nessie, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, and I know up in like the Great Lake area, I can't speak for what's over in Scotland. I don't know what all that looks like, but I'm a little more skeptical of stuff that would be in like the Great Lakes. I know they're the Great Lakes for a reason. They're fucking huge.
they are
But
massive.
Also, if there's these like gargantuan creatures up there, it feels like that's something that you could probably seek out a little easier than like walking through the woods looking for Bigfoot or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know what to believe with stuff like that. And it's never been part of my wheelhouse of, you know, conspiracy theories or supernatural things that are yet to be discovered. So I don't know. But as far as like Skinwalker Ranch and stuff like that, and you mentioned something that was just north of that earlier.
Frog Ranch.
Blind Frog Ranch. Tell me about that. Is that
sounds like an IPA.
They probably do have an IPA called Blind Frog.
Have you tried the new IPA, Blind Frog?
Yeah. It's based out of Utah. They experience a lot of same stuff that they're experiencing at Skinwalker with UAP sightings and all that stuff. They experience a lot of so what they're doing out there, they're drilling, trying to find stuff in the ground, and they'll be drilling, and then just all of a sudden their equipment shuts down.
Yeah, so that's exactly like what we were talking about with the Netflix show on Skinwalker Ranch. That's where I've watched up to is where they're starting to try to dig into stuff or shoot rockets at this little pyramid thing in the sky, and yeah, their shit just shuts down. They'll get these weird frequencies and stuff all the time, and I mean the show's goofy. I don't really appreciate the people that are producing it, but I mean, I don't think they're lying about it or anything.
I feel you there.
I mean, that's the problem with a lot of, especially the cryptid area of things, is just you get some of the most off the wall people that are talking about it.
Their TV shows, what are they supposed to be doing? Making money. So they're going to draw it out as long as they can to keep you watching.
That's true.
And I mean, that's one thing, but also, and we've talked about this with like, we talked about ghost encounters last time and stuff like that, where it's just like, they draw it out, but they also, my fear anyway, is that they draw it out and they like look extra hard just because they want, like you said, they want to make money. They want to keep their show on the air and stuff like that. But I feel like that kind of poisons the well a little bit, you know, in the long term, like truth seeking side of things is just like, if you're trying to convince people, I think you kind of have to choose like that long-term production value and the money of it, or do you want to get to the bottom of it and convince people that things are real?
What if they just ran like, I'm just thinking what you were mentioning, that like showbiz you got to give me something, you know, but you know, it's like, what if there's just an episode where Zach Bagans is on like Ghost Adventures? He's like, we got nothing, man. We got nothing. And it just like ends the episode, you know. I expect probably at that point they just scrap that episode and like move to the next area or the next scene.
Yeah.
Is what I would imagine. But yeah,
I'm sure there's been episodes like that, but we just don't know about it.
Yeah,
They
sure,
just don't air.
exactly. I 100% think that there's gonna be like some just dud episodes where they're gonna have to scrap because they just got absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So
Hey, your son's coming down the steps. Do we need to pause for just a second?
yeah, we'll cut scene.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Jack.
All right. So, welcome back. So I guess just to kind of wrap up on the whole like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, let's do the 1 through 10, the three of us. Just where do you stand? Like where's your possibility meter on, like, I guess we'll just be specifically Bigfoot because I don't want to just say cryptids in general,
Yeah.
because I think that's a little too broad, because I think all of us sitting here probably think that there's creatures out there that we're unaware of at the moment. So just Bigfoot in general, like where are we standing on that? And I guess we'll start with you.
I'm going to say a 5.
5.
I've never experienced it, but there's so many stories out there of people that have. There has to be something out there. So
Sure.
I'm gonna go with a 5.
What you got?
I'm going with a 4. I think we love to talk about it, and it's more fun to talk about it than it actually being a real thing.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with like a 3 or a 4 too, because it just seems, I don't know. I think Bigfoot specifically, I don't trust at least most of the videos I've seen on it at all. So I feel like it's probably just like a conspiracy fad of some sorts, where it's just a hot topic for people, and somebody may have seen something originally, and like maybe what was it, the Patterson Gimlin film, that was like one of the first ones. Maybe that is a video of something, but then like so many people just pile on to it and try to replicate that just for the folklore of it all.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm skeptical.
All I can say is now we got AI, so now you don't know what's real and what's not, because everything looks real nowadays.
Dude,
That's true.
This isn't.
And that's like 90% of the videos I've been watching nowadays. The Sasquatch videos, they're so hilarious. Sasquatch and Yeti.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, where the guy's like, hold my beer. Yeah. He's like talking, and he's like holding the camera like he's doing a selfie. Yeah, they're funny.
And he goes out looking for honeybees. He's like, I'm going to go get this honey. And it's like cut scene. And then he's running through the woods. He's like, they're after me. The bees are after. It's pretty funny. It goes more vulgar, but I'm not going to say all the stuff he says.
Sure. But yeah, with the AI videos and shit like that, it feels like the last month or so it's really picked up. I think there was a new program like VO or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but I guess it's a more I've lost my words. There's a program that more people can get their hands on, I'm thinking, is what's happened over the last month or so, and it's just been, the internet's been inundated with all kinds of videos that look very real. I mean, when they're talking, you can kind of tell that it's not quite right, but as far as like the video side of things, like it's almost there. Still not quite, I think we still fall into the uncanny valley a little bit looking at some of this stuff where, I don't know, just something in our brains is protecting us to some degree with it because it's just not quite right. But I mean, pretty soon that's going to be gone. And then, yeah, Bigfoot, UFOs, anything like that. Not like anybody trusts these videos now, like we were just saying, but yeah, that's really going to slam the door on a lot of this kind of stuff anyway. But, all right, to get to the next topic that I got here. So let's just go ghosts. Like we talked a little bit about that last time, how we feel about ghosts and demons and all that stuff. What are you fingering for over there?
He's got a 7. Also, he's got a 7.
So I've never seen a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff that I've been reading lately is a lot of people like exorcisms and stuff. I read something today on the computer about exorcisms, and a lot of it's just misdiagnosis of mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they let the church go in and do whatever they do. So
right. And I mean, it's easy to see, like, and that's kind of where I stand on it too. It feels like the church, broadly, the church kind of gets in the way of this kind of discussion because, I mean, you can ask people and they'll say that gay people are, possessed by demons and stuff. And that's why they, it's just, it's ridiculous. And I mean, who knows, like, to go back to like the witch trials and stuff like that, where, I mean, who knows what was going on exactly, but that was another thing where the church just didn't like something that they were seeing and calling it out for like demons and witchcraft and all this stuff. And yeah, I think, I don't know, like you said, I've never experienced ghosts or anything like that, but it's something that's persisted over a long period of time. So, I mean, that kind of gives me a little bit of pause with it. I don't know. I don't like the shows like Ghost Encounters or whatever it was. I don't know, going for the production value on those just kind of ruins it for me because it just feels inauthentic to some degree.
I think a lot of it has to do with like folklore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good stories to tell. I remember in elementary school, we had a book that we read in, I think, 3rd grade or something, and it was like Haunted Tales of North Carolina.
Sure.
So it's always good to pass down stuff.
I love
from
a good
history.
ghost story.
Yeah.
I like watching it. I like movies about it. I like everything about it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of like movies and stuff where it's clearly fiction. I mean, I think it's great fiction, but I'm not into. Not to say that I won't hear people out on their experiences and stuff like that, but I'm extra skeptical of it. And like I've said before, it's just tied in with so much religious shit that I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it says about the afterlife if there's ghosts floating around and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a lot of people that die every day. Why aren't there more ghosts? It feels like this would be a bigger problem if it was a real thing. But, I mean, I'm not going to claim to know how the afterlife works either. That feels a little ambitious for this podcast.
Yeah.
But
What's your scale?
I'd probably lower than Bigfoot. So
Really? That's interesting.
yeah, I think I'd believe in Bigfoot more than I believe in ghosts. I'll give it a 3.
3?
I guess.
Yeah. I didn't give it a number yet, I don't think.
No.
I'm gonna have to go less than Bigfoot. I'm gonna go 4.
I'm going the opposite direction. I'm teetering between a 6 and a 7, but for a couple of reasons. Like I've watched a lot of different episodes about hunters, people that hunt ghosts, and there's a lot of really compelling evidence that could be one thing or another. But my personal thought is when someone passes, there's some sort of energy that sort of lingers.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be them in general, but it's just like this energy that just has to dissipate over time. And different like beings have, this sounds like some hoodoo witchcraft stuff, and bear with me, but it like there's these energies, and some last way longer than other. They could be tied to certain objects, and people could take certain things. I've seen where they would take like just some little keepsake from a family, and some people say there's energy tied to that, and they'll take it to another place, and it brings that energy with them. So I don't know what that means, what it really is, but it's something I don't know how to explain. And I can't say one way or the other if it's hoodoo, voodoo, or whatever, but I do have a tendency to believe that just a slightly bit more than Bigfoot.
No, I mean, when you put it in those terms, like as far as like some form of energy that we don't understand or something like that, I kind of do buy into that a little bit more. Makes me think of like haunted houses and stuff like that. Do I think that someone's spirit has been trapped in this building and is just floating around, you know, scaring people?
Yeah.
Closing cabinet doors or whatever? No, not really, but there is, I think there's something to be said for like you were saying, like some form of energy that maybe we don't understand, where like maybe events leave like an imprint on a place to some degree. Like maybe there is like a negative form of energy that we can't really conceptualize as human beings. And, you know, there would also be the positive to that too, I guess. But yeah,
I've even had some people say like after sometimes people pass, they're sort of stuck in between, like wherever they're supposed to be versus where they are, like their spirit, not their physical body.
Right.
And they just don't even like it. And it sort of plays off of that M. Night Shyamalan, the I See Dead People movie, whatever the name of Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
It plays off of that like the whole time. You know, spoiler alert. I haven't seen this movie yet. 5-year-old movie. Yeah. Spoiler alert. What's his name?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis is dead like the whole time and doesn't know it. So like there could be like people are just kind of stuck in between, and they don't know they're dead, but they still are walking around, you know, flipping pennies and slamming doors, and don't know it. And there'll be like mediums that'll come in, or intermediate, or whatever you want to call them. And there's like they're just like, go home, you know, and they'll just say all this stuff, and then it kind of goes away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like the concept of like purgatory, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I guess as far as energies and stuff like that, if we were to conceptualize it like that, I'd probably raise the number on the scale to like I don't know, maybe like a 6 or a 7, honestly, because I do think there's something going on, but I don't know. I don't know what it is, and I don't really think it's just dead people floating around. I have to believe that they have something better to do than that. I mean, that's kind of where I land on it.
Yeah.
But to go to the next one, this is the big one for me, and I'll go ahead and tell you my number on it would be like UFOs, UAP, that kind of phenomenon. I think I won't say 10 because that just feels a little obnoxious, but like solid 9. Like,
Okay.
like there's something going on as far as, and I won't say that it's people from outer space necessarily. Something that's been kicked around a lot lately is that, maybe this is something that has actually been here before, maybe before we were, or that it's like interdimensional to some degree. And that's, once again, this is getting into the realm of like the fantasy shit that really gets my gears going. So maybe I want to believe it a little too much, but I mean, I think there's plenty of reason to believe it, at least at this point. And I mean, once again, I've never seen a whole lot. I saw a ball lightning one time, and I've heard some debate on whether or not that's actually what that is or not, lightning. But
lightning has balls.
yeah. But yeah, where you stand on the whole UAP alien?
So UAPs, as an observer, I've never seen one, but there's so much evidence out there of some kind of existence. I mean, think about World War II. They talked about Foo Fighters, and it wasn't just the Americans that talked about it. It was the other side that talked about seeing them too.
Right.
And then you got to look back at some of the ancient stuff that we found. I think you guys talked about Babylon or Sumer.
Yeah, Sumer.
So if you go back and look at some of their stuff, they have stuff that looks like UAVs. I mean, go back to Egypt. Right. They have stuff in pyramids that look like it could be UAPs.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of getting into the realm of I don't know what's real for sure or not, but I've seen people talk about how there's like, I know there's supposedly like hieroglyphs and shit of things that look like helicopters, and maybe not spaceships, but things that we have today that they definitely shouldn't have known about back then. Yeah. And I think just as far as ancient civilizations and how fascinated they were with the stars and stuff of that nature, I mean, they were interested in something.
Well, I think a lot of the wars of the past have destroyed a lot of things, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't understand about our past.
Right.
Hidden for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that gets into like big picture conspiracy stuff for me though, because like as far as were wars waged to cover up ancient information and stuff like that, like whew, there has to be such a big picture conspiracy going on for that to be the case in my mind. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but you're getting deep at that point. And I don't know. I do think things like in Egypt with the pyramids and stuff. We talked a little bit about that several episodes ago, but I think that's one of the big markers for me that there's something else going on. Like, just you're not going to convince me that a bunch of people built those pyramids and carried those uncut stones around that were tons and tons. It just doesn't make sense to me. I
think there's a lot out there that we don't understand of it. Like recently I've been seeing stuff where they've done LiDAR scans and they're finding whole subterranean like cities underneath the pyramid and stuff that they never knew was there.
Yeah, we looked into that a little bit too, and yeah, that's wild. I mean, I know I don't know what the purpose of such a thing would be, because like, we have, the elite class in the country now is supposedly making all these underground bunkers and stuff for like a doomsday event. So maybe that's kind of what it was. Maybe the elites of some sort back then had this worry or this knowledge that something was coming, and they, bunkered down into the ground. I mean, that's definitely possible, but it's just like, how did they know anything was coming? Because they weren't supposed to have technology to know that there was going to be a huge flood that came through the area, or that a comet was going to hit the earth or anything like that. And I mean, I don't know. I guess get back to like the UAP side of things. Like, what are your thoughts on all of it just being like military technology and stuff like that? Because I think that's certainly a part of it.
Some of it. I say maybe 30% is military.
30%.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
There's
obviously
a lot of stuff that they're updating that we don't know about. Like, I know when I was in the military, the whole time we flew the same UAV or drone.
Uh-huh.
UAV is unmanned aerial vehicle. Civilians usually call them drones or whatever.
Sure.
But I think 2 years ago, they just retired the one that I flew, and now they have a new one, and it does vertical takeoff and all sorts of stuff. So, like, they're coming out with new stuff constantly.
Right. But still, you know, what they're releasing, something you always hear is that the government has technology that's like 20, 30, 40, 50 years ahead of what's being released to the public or that people know about. Do you think there's anything to that?
I don't think it's the government. It's like,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think there are like, I don't know the best way to put it, like undercover companies, I guess is the best way to put it, that do all this research, that invent stuff, and then they might sell some of it to the military, but they're not going to give everything to the military.
Sure.
And then a lot of private contractors have their own stuff that we don't know about.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's where you get into like the military industrial complex that people talk about. And I mean, these are all companies that nobody really knows a whole lot about. And I mean, maybe for good reason. I don't think it's necessarily nefarious, but I mean, probably.
So I know while I was overseas flying, there was just as many civilian companies over there flying UAVs as well, doing their own stuff that had nothing to do with the military. So
Right.
there's stuff all over the world.
What's your with all that being said, what's your scale on 1 to 10 on extraterrestrial?
I'm gonna say a 7.
Yeah, I think we could probably break this up into maybe two different things. Like as far as aliens and like people from another dimension or whatever it may be, you know, I think that maybe I would temper my rating on that a little bit, maybe down to like a 7 or an 8 or something like that. But as far as there being, you know, whether they're here now, but maybe like remnants of their civilization or their technology, I think we've definitely got our hands on some form of technology that we didn't make. We didn't know how to do it. I think my favorite way that this has been described that I'm aware of is that like they're considered like donations by some people, as like maybe they're being planted here by, you know, whatever is out there. And I mean, that's a little harder for me to believe, but that is my favorite side of the conspiracy, is that there's like maybe a race of people out there somewhere that's like trying to just like nudge us along a little bit into the right direction. And I mean, I don't have any evidence to back that theory up, but I've heard it talked about and I like it. It's fun. But where do you fall in the whole alien rating here?
This is going to be somewhat of a wild response, but it is a response nevertheless. I think that the probability of there being extraterrestrials is a 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah.
I think the probability that they've made it here is like a 3. It's just inconceivable to think about the distance, and I've mentioned this in a couple other podcasts about how far away they are from here. I mean, you're looking at like, unless they have some technology that we don't have, and a warp drive and a wormhole and all this other shit.
Yeah.
That like they would have to have generations of families live and die to make it here.
Mm-hmm.
So my take is 10. Yes, there's way too many planets that for them it not to be real.
Yeah.
Have they made it here? Probably a 3. That's my hot take.
I do think that's a little bit of a misconception, or maybe not a misconception, but my problem with that is that I think that assumes that there's like a race of people on another planet somewhere that's been in existence like roughly the same time as us, and that, you know, they can't possibly have the technology to get here. But I mean, look at how technology advances with us on this planet every year, and how much things just go crazy anymore. And I mean, I think if you're talking about a civilization that has, you know, a million or two on us as far as age, then, I mean, who knows what they're capable of at this point? And
who's to say that somebody couldn't live 2,000 years?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if they're even really people at all anymore, like, I mean, going back to like the AI conversation a little bit, but like integrating with technology and expanding our lifespans and stuff like that is something that I think is in a stone's throw away for us here on Earth. So, I mean,
Yeah.
who
I could
knows?
say, yeah, based on what we know as human beings and the laws of physics, it's impossible. But what you're saying is that basically it's unfathomable to us, but it's sort of like, again, the zookeeper theory, where we're just like, have no idea. They're probably running circles around us and we don't know that they're there, but they are.
All right, and that's kind of like the whole Sumerian thing that we've talked about before, is like, you know, maybe they created us and maybe they are what we consider to be gods, but just kind of, like I said earlier, just kind of nudging us in the right direction and stuff like that.
Or all the other ones are just like grub worms, you know, on other planets that haven't even, they're just like primordial soup. And maybe one day, a billion years from now, that there'll be some advanced civilization, but now they're just starting. So, yeah, it could be one extreme to the other.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you give, 3 is where you landed on this.
Well, if you give it the average, then it would be somewhere around 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable, honestly. All right, this is one that we haven't really talked about on this podcast before. Did we go to the moon?
Oh. Now I've seen all the videos that talk about the conspiracies and stuff, but I don't know why you would want to lie about it. Like, what point does it serve to lie about something like that? They already beat us. Let's put it that way. They were the first to space. So what's it going to matter who lands on the moon first?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Another thing is like, you know, say aliens are real and all that whole thing. You know, what if we go up there and find something that we can't let people know about, or something along those lines? That's, I don't know. As far, I guess that gets into like the videos. Like, some of the videos are obviously, or I say obviously, but in my opinion, they're either faked.
TikTok's going to shut us down.
Yeah,
that's fine. They're already working on it.
Yeah, we're halfway. We're a third of the way there.
Yeah, but I was looking into this a little bit earlier today. There's a guy, Bart Sibrel.
I thought you were just about to say Bart Simpson, but sorry, go ahead.
Bart Simpson, who talks about the moon landing. He's got a website, Sibrel.com, and he's done a lot of work on this and has plenty of documentaries and videos, and points out a lot of the inconsistencies with the footage. And, you know, I don't know what backs this up, but I've heard people like Stanley Kubrick worked on the moon landing footage and stuff like that. And supposedly he's planted Easter eggs in some of his movies to kind of lead people in that direction. I don't know what to think about all that.
Is it,
The Shining's the one that was where he prominently did stuff like that, I think.
no, of the third kind, I think is what it's called, or something, where there's like an alien.
Yeah, Close
Encounters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we would. I mean, I guess there's a few reasons why, honestly. Like Kelso had said, we were racing. But, I mean, I think there's a lot to what you said about how we probably weren't the first ones there anyway. And I think there is, like, a lot of interesting stuff surrounding, like, the technology to get us there and whatnot. Because, and, you know, maybe I'm kind of speaking out of place here, but, like, supposedly we don't even have, like, NASA apparently can't get us back to the moon. And something about, like, after they got back, they've, like, destroyed the technology and stuff like that, and that's why they shut down the program that goes up there. And it's something that I hear repeated a lot. I don't know what truth there is to stuff like that, but, I mean, it's interesting, I guess, like, because we haven't been back to the moon.
Yeah.
Wait, we have. Google it. I'm pretty sure we have.
I know I've heard that, like,
quite a few times, actually.
I've heard
China just
went back.
Yeah, I heard China's been there.
Yeah.
But
It just went back recently. But what purpose does it serve to go to the moon? Like, what's on the moon? Well, they've already
Yeah,
said
It costs a lot of money and a lot of resources.
yeah,
This is a very good question.
that's fair. But also, like, if we have the ability to go up there, I mean, I'm sure we haven't, explored it.
Search that one right below. How many times did the U.S. land on the moon? Just click.
I saw a funny video
6.
today.
Okay.
And I never thought about it this way, but a guy was watching the moon landing video and he's like, "This is fake. Who's recording?" And like you see the spaceship taking off. He's like, "Who's the dude on the moon recording this? Like, how are they getting this footage back?" Like,
Right.
you got to think back then there wasn't no wireless stuff. Everything was like video, camera, film. He's like, "Who recorded this? Like, how did they get this footage back?" You could see the spaceship take off and the video was still on the moon.
Yeah.
I think so. They broadcast it
That's exactly what happened.
live,
It's just somebody.
and I think it's actually like 7 seconds off or something around there. I don't remember the
For
exact
the
detail.
data transfer and whatnot. Which, I mean, I've heard people argue about that too. Is just like, is that really all the delay that there would have been with technology back then and stuff? And I don't know. I have a lot of questions about it. And honestly, that's probably going to be one of the topics that comes up for us pretty soon on like a deep dive of some sort, because there is a lot of material out there, and probably for a reason. Like I said, Cibrel.com, it had like deathbed confessions from people that were apparently involved in the programs, and there's a lot of heat around the topic. But I think, if it was faked, there has to be a reason why it was faked. And once again, I'm going to wear this out, but going back to the want to believe side of things, as far as like aliens, or what I've heard people even debate the plausibility of the moon itself, and like why it's there and why is it perfect for this Earth when there are no other planets that have perfectly sized moons for their planets like that. And I mean, I think it's interesting. At least I don't fully buy into it, but I do tend to believe that these conspiracy theories that persist over time, I mean, I think they're worth looking into.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I'm gonna say on it.
the hollow moon theory.
Yeah,
So
I haven't heard
I think
this
they
one.
went to the moon, and as they were leaving the moon, they like let one of their rocket boosters or something go back and crash into the moon, and they recorded it, and it rings like a bell. It was like bing, and it rung for like 5 minutes.
yeah,
That's crazy. I've
I've
not
heard
heard
that.
that.
I've heard that before, but like I don't know, like I don't know how verifiable that is. Like, why would they just shoot a rocket at the moon? And
Yeah,
I mean, unless they just had an inkling of an idea that something was off about the geography of the land itself, and like and what they landed on. Like, maybe they were clued off to something being off, and were like, "Hey, I wonder what this does." Yeah. Dong. I mean,
So
yeah, I don't know.
when we looked here, if it is true, there's been 6 U.S. missions. Internationally, I think there's been quite a bit more. But according to Wikipedia, there's been 6.
When was the last one?
2028, I'm sorry, 2018.
ooh, in the
That was pretty recently. So the people that say that we can't go back are just full of shit.
Yeah,
And is that like manned stuff, or is that just
yeah.
okay? Yeah,
And
so
I
that's
think,
a hole in
well,
that
there-
for sure.
There's also this thing where, and this could be fake, but I'll add another layer of conspiracy, that there's this thought that Jeff Bezos wants to inhabit real estate on the moon to gather either resources, whether it be, I don't know, whatever they're looking for. I don't think there's any water on the planet, but whatever it is some resource that we're missing here, to gather more there. And then I've also heard this other crazy theory about, not to just throw 2 wild things off the cuff, but the other one was to have operations on the moon, like have like stations where they manufacture materials off the Earth and then bring it back. I don't know.
what would be the purpose of that? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it feels wildly inefficient for sure.
Yeah, it does. And like I said, they're all theories.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually, like, we are going to find some kind of resource or something on another planet. And I mean, like, you hear about this with Elon Musk all the time, trying to go to Mars for whatever reason. I think what he says is that eventually we'll have to move off of this planet for some doomsday reason, one or the other. But eventually we're going to find a resource out there that we don't have here, if we haven't already. And who knows what we'll end up doing with that. What we got here?
So all 6 were between 69 and 72.
So in a 3-year span was all of the moon trips that we took, apparently.
12 astronauts.
Yeah, we threw all that sweet government money when it was hot then, and then after that it went to other stuff.
Notice it said 63, right?
It said 62.
62. 69.
63 and 69, wasn't it?
Well,
70.
there. That's what it was.
Completely off. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was just going to say it was after JFK passed because he was trying to get us to the moon. He would have been the first president, and then he was assassinated. So
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So with the conspiracy side of the moon landing, where are we at on that with our scale? 1 to 10. I guess 10 would be like we didn't go, and 1 is like we were definitely there. Everything was normal. We just didn't want to go back after 73 or whatever it was. Let's start with you on this one.
I'm going to give it a 2. I feel pretty confident we went.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
So that's you're going that way with it,
right? Yeah, 10. Would
I was going to say a 10 that we for sure went to the moon, but you said 2. So yeah, I'll say at 1 then. We for sure landed on the moon. There's no fakery to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we went, but I do think that there was something else going on. Like there's something strange about
for sure
what
hint
happened.
stuff. They can't let everybody know everything, but
Right. So I mean,
money.
And just as far as like the conspiracy meter, and I mean, I guess that kind of changes the metric of the scale a little bit. But as far as like if there was something that was amiss with the moon landing, I'd definitely go up to like a 6, probably 5 or 6, something like that. Something was wrong. And I mean, I don't know what the purpose is or the whys of it and all that, but something was strange. But all right, you brought it up a minute ago. This was the next topic I wanted to get into, but the JFK assassination.
Okay.
Did the CIA do it? I've recently, I think a few days ago, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't think much of her because she just says outlandish shit all the time, but she tweeted out that like Israel did it and stuff like that because JFK was trying to put a stop to their nuclear program or something like that. And I don't know nothing about that, but I mean, that's a congresswoman saying it. So, I mean, that's, it's worth noting on, I guess. But yeah, JFK is one of those situations that I don't really know a whole lot about. I don't trust any of the information, like with the JFK files that were released a couple months ago. Like, the government's not just going to come out and tell you that they did it. Like, that's not how it's going to work. But, I mean, where do you stand on all that?
I feel like there was some kind of cover-up because when we were in high school, I don't know if you ever had him. We had a teacher called Mr. Stillwell.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He made us sit down and watch something to do with the JFK assassination. And he's like, I want y'all to remember this year. And he gave a specific year. He said, they're going to release information about the JFK assassination, tell what really happened. And sure enough, what do you know? Here they just release stuff, but nobody really knows what it is because it's just pages and pages full of stuff.
Yeah, like
nobody can.
Like over 80,000 documents or something like that. And I mean,
when we get AI to read it for us, maybe the summary.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure you could probably do that. I tried doing that whenever they first dropped, but it was basically like there hasn't been enough time for that.
I'll give you my opinion. I don't think one person did it.
Sure. Yeah, I think
they say Lee Harvey Oswald did it, but I don't think one person did it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I stand on it too. Like there was definitely something foul with it.
Well, if I remember correctly, it was a bolt action rifle, right? That they found on that floor, head on. But then there's this talk about a second gunman on the grassy knoll. I mean, that's kind of like old conspiracy stuff. I don't know what new has come from that, but they were saying like the amount of times that the rifle was fired. There was like a guy that I don't remember who it was, who a pro with that weapon couldn't reload in that amount of time and accurately hit a target. I don't remember. Did y'all ever watch that little special on that where it was like just showing the guy and they sort of set up the same angle and everything and had a moving target to see if he could do what, and it was basically just deemed that Lee Harvey Oswald was like superhuman if he to be able to accurately hit anywhere close to his head and reload within like that amount of time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I mean, for a long time, they were assuming like there was the whole it was called like the magic bullet theory or something along those lines, where they thought it was just like one bullet that did all the damage.
Yeah, where it went in here and then came out down here and then came out through his legs and then went into the governor in front of him. Yeah.
And
right.
And
I mean, I think that was the Warren Commission, which was the investigation on all of it. I'm pretty sure that was what the commission said happened.
Yeah.
And
well, you can clearly see in the video he got shot more than once. He goes forward and grabs his neck.
yeah, he got shot in the neck.
Yep.
And then the back of his head gets blown off. That's two shots right there. So we know there's more than one bullet.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can pull up maps of what happened that day, and just looking at the video, like it really doesn't look like those shots came from that area that they supposedly came from either. I mean, I'm not no ballistic specialist or anything like that. I shouldn't be talking about this when it really comes down to it, but something was amiss that day. And I mean, I'm not going to say that it was like the CIA for sure or anything like that or whatever. I just don't think that the official narrative holds up with it.
Even if we say that we aren't experts at this, someone's going to flag it and shut it down for us.
Right. All right. So 1 to 10, where are we at with JFK? Is there a cover up? I guess is the scale we'll work off of.
10 being, oh yeah, there's a cover
10.
up.
There's a cover up.
Okay.
1, nope. It's exactly what the gummit says it was.
I'm going to say 10, there's a cover up because, I mean, you got to think him and his brother and his whole family have been targeted since his assassination. So,
Yep.
I'm going to give it a 9.
I think I got to go 10 on that one too. It's just too weird. And like I said, what do I know? But I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. I don't know. All right, let's blow through. I got 2 more topics and then we'll wrap up here. But Epstein files. What do we think about that? Is there, is this like the conspiracy narrative?
I didn't realize there was conspiracy. I mean, he did it, right?
Well, yeah,
Are you talking
he
about
did
the
it.
conspiracy of him killing himself, or are you talking about the conspiracy of...
I would say broadly here that the conspiracy side that I've been made aware of anyway is that this was a blackmail operation essentially where he would pull in these politicians, actors, scientists, all these powerful people from all around the world, get them on film doing, unspeakable deeds and then use that, via some agency somewhere to leverage, policy or whatever it is that the goal was. I know like Ghislaine Maxwell's father was part of Mossad and stuff like that, which kind of links in with a intelligence operation, which isn't ideal. I mean, obviously, I think Epstein, I guess, given what's came out about it recently, I don't know that he didn't kill himself. I think it's unlikely that was the case. I think best case scenario, he was allowed to kill himself. I don't, given that he was on suicide watch and the cameras went down supposedly and that the guards fell asleep, like with a high profile guy like that, you don't just let all of that happen in my mind anyway. And I mean,
So this is the way I see it. I feel like he was a bad guy. He definitely did some stuff he shouldn't have. So what does it matter if he killed himself or somebody else killed himself? Somebody was trying to hide something.
right.
Either he was trying to hide something or somebody else was trying to hide something by killing him.
Well, I mean, he was looking at the rest of his life in prison. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know if he was going to come out with all the names. I don't know if I really believe that there's like an Epstein list floating around with all the powerful people and stuff. I think if there was videos, they've been destroyed by now. There's no way any of that's ever going to actually come out. I know Trump says, or he said previously, he was going to release the Epstein files. And, they started like a kind of PR campaign about the Epstein files at the beginning of this term. But, I mean, that was a farce at best, I feel. And I don't know. I don't know who's involved with it. I think it's definitely pretty possible. But I guess I'll give, as far as the conspiracy goes about like the blackmail operation side of things, like who knows about the whole kill himself thing. There's too much heat around that to get to the bottom of that one, but just to speculate on like the blackmail operation side of things, and if there was some grand conspiracy where he was a part of some mechanism that was controlling the world essentially, which is the deep part of the conspiracy, I'd honestly have to give that like a 7.
Yeah, there's so many secret societies and stuff that we don't know about that keep stuff hidden. Who's to say that like he couldn't have done all the stuff that they said he did? I mean, it's crazy.
Right. I mean, it's impossible to. We'll never know. It's one of those great mysteries we're never gonna know because it's just too deep.
Yeah.
Where are we at on the scale?
I'll go ahead and jump in. I'm gonna give it a 4 because I think he was sick in the head, and I just can't imagine someone using his illness to someone else's advantage. It's just, that's even makes that other person even sicker. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, there are more crazier, fucked up things going on in the world. So, but that's my short answer. I'm just going to give it a 4.
All right. So, Epstein deep dive soon. We got to pump those numbers up for sure.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear some of the information more about that. I haven't really deep dive into it.
This is me way on the outside in. That's
I understand completely.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a 5.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the safest thing to go because, I mean, there is a lot to what you say. I mean, obviously, if he's involved in all of that shit, he's a sick individual.
Yeah, I mean, and all the cohorts that would be in on that just makes them even more. Why would you be okay with using that as leverage for something else at the expense of other people? So,
well, I mean, I don't know. I think when you have supposedly all the people in the positions of power that he had supposedly on that list, like, I mean, you get a lot of leverage, and we know, just look at the state of money in this country. It's fucked up, and it's lopsided as all hell. And I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me anyway, why, there's all this disappearing money and things of that nature. So
I've
it
got
does
some
seem
strong
like
opinions on the wealth gap. It's a huge problem.
And I mean, I think, somebody having blackmail on powerful people kind of helps to explain why, nobody seems to give a shit about some of these obvious problems in the country. And I mean, I don't know that all ropes in together, but it is what it is, I guess. All right. We got a number from, you were a 4.
I'm a 4.
He's 5. Yeah, I'm going to stay at 7, I think. All right, last one, and then we'll wrap up out of here. We can't talk about it long because it got us in trouble on TikTok. But 9/11, it's the big one. It's kind of what got me into conspiracies in general. It's what gave me all the questions in the world when I started looking into, what happened that day. Just to kind of cover this for anybody at home that's paying attention on TikTok, we talked about 9/11 last week or the week before or something along those lines, and we managed to have a TikTok short go up that was talking about thermite and the towers and stuff like that, and that was A-okay. Didn't get flagged, no problemo. And we then put up another short that was speculating on the World Trade Center number 7, and what happened there. And we didn't make any claims. We didn't say much of anything about it, just that it fell down. And
it was strange. All we said was literally, that is weird.
Right.
That it fell and nothing hit it.
And then, boom, wiped off the face of
we got a strike. 1 of 3. 3 will get you permanently taken off of TikTok.
Yeah, and it's so weird because, like, it was fine on Facebook, it was fine on Instagram, it was fine on YouTube, but then TikTok, this Chinese company.
Yeah, why do they give a fuck?
Yeah, they're like, no. Yeah, but I'm sure we don't have to cover this a whole lot. Everybody knows the problems with 9/11 and what went wrong, and I mean, there's a lot of pretty deep alleyways you can probably go down that. I mean, I don't know.
Have we met?
That it was an inside job per se. But I think it's another one of those things where maybe it was allowed to happen for this reason or that reason. We got into a lot of wars right after that didn't really solve the problem, at least initially.
That 9/11 is the reason I joined the military.
Yeah. I mean, seeing something like that happen to your home, I mean...
I was young and naive, and if I knew what I know now or what I've experienced, I probably wouldn't have joined the military.
Yeah, I mean, if you do go down the rabbit holes on 9/11 and you come to the... just to say that you assume what I just said about, even it being allowed to happen and stuff, and that level of manipulation to get us into wars and stuff like that, I mean... that's got to be a huge hit to morale once you find out stuff like that. So I understand that completely. And I mean, I know the military does, great things to protect this country one way or another. And I don't know that the people in power over them are making the right decisions for the right reasons. But, that, I don't know. It's hard to say that. I don't want to say that people shouldn't join the military because they're working for an evil empire or something like that, because we need the military. We absolutely need it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's got to be very disheartening for people that, spent, you spent 8 years in it, but there's people, the career guys that have been there decades. And I don't know if maybe they get jaded to the situation a little bit more perhaps, but if they're in 20, 30 years into their careers and then find out that, 9/11 was an inside job or something of that nature, it's like, what does that do to your psyche? And it's hard to wrap my head around that. Just having so much invested into a country that potentially did this to itself or allowed it to happen one way or another. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weird shit. World Trade Center 7 falls down for not much of a reason, it seems like. We talked about it last time, but apparently some of the debris from one of the towers fell into it, and they say that was enough for it to, pancake on itself.
Yeah.
I don't buy it, but I'm, not an architect.
So the crazy thing is, I was there the year before, and then I was there the year after. So I got to see it before it happened, and then I got to see the aftermath.
Was that the when we took the New York trip, or was that a different occasion?
So the New York trip, what New York trip are you talking about? Did you take one in middle school or junior high?
I think it was, junior high.
So you were the last 9th grade at West, right? We were the last 9th grade at Easton. That was our 9th grade field trip, was to New York.
Yeah.
So we get to New York, and as soon as we get in our hotel, some lady jumps off the roof and commits suicide while we're there. So that was an experience. And then the next year I went to New York. It was my sophomore year. And we went to New York with a family that I went to church with. Their son was having cleft palate surgery. So we went up there with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see all the aftermath. And it was just a big hole, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we were up in that, one of them. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
We were up there, and I was not comfortable.
Yeah.
Being up there, just because the whole building just moved and swayed, and it took I don't know, it felt like 30 minutes to get up there.
Yeah. We never actually got to go inside when we went, but we saw it.
I got some pictures of it. We were on a ferry. I took a picture of the 2 towers, and 3 months later, it's fucking gone.
Yeah.
But What are our votes?
Let's start with y'all.
Considering 10 that something hairy is going on, 1.
Yeah, I guess what would be the best way to break this up? I guess on this scale, we'll go, I guess once again, cover up. Was it not what it seemed? What the official narrative was?
10 being not.
Yeah, 10 being something's wrong, 1 being the government is trustworthy on this matter.
I'm gonna just give us a full on 10. It does not make any fucking sense to me. Like that other tower falling when nothing hit it just absolutely baffles me. It just makes no sense. And then the traces of thermite, it just, and I don't know, it just does not add up to me. I'm giving it a 10.
Well,
yeah, I'm going to say a 10 as well. I feel like it was definitely a controlled demolition of some kind. I mean, a building doesn't just pancake on itself unless you make it pancake on itself.
right. Yeah. For myself, I'm going to break this into 2 different categories. I'm going to say for the first one, the Bush did 9/11 thing. Was it an inside job that we did to further some means? I'm going to give that a 9, and I'm going to give it a cover up on, was it a cover up that we maybe allowed to happen or something like that? I'm going to give that an 11.
11,
Yeah.
Sure.
I lost this drop.
But, all right. I think that'll do it for us today. We've covered a lot of ground. Thank you for joining us. This has been a treat.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again
Welcome.
sometime. But all right. Everybody watching at home, enjoy us while you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, Earth. Have we met?